Mr. Lee is the CEO of Capital B Enterprises in Singapore. He has just decided to travel to Sydney for a conference later in the month and calls his secretary Susie to organise his travel reservations. Susie has a regular travel agent who makes all their employee travel bookings. However, in recent months, she had experienced a few problems with her reservations. In some cases, seats that the agent said were available were actually not, or fares went up after the initial quote. Sometimes Mr. Lee's preference for a vegetarian meal was not registered with the airline, a mistake that Susie did not want repeated. She decides to call a new travel agent who uses the Amadeus distribution system recommended by a secretary from another company. Susie speaks to the new agent, Michael, at Sunshine Travels, and passes on Mr. Lee's travel requirements for the Sydney conference. Susie asks for the best fares from Singapore to Sydney on the 14th with Mr. Lee's preferred airline. The agent searches for the fare and finds there is a well-priced seat available, but it is the very last one on the flight. He asks Susie if she wants to book the flight now while the seat is still available at the low fare. After her experiences with the last agency, Susie asks Michael if the seat is guaranteed to be available at that price. Since Michael's travel agency is an Amadeus subscriber and the airline being booked is using Amadeus Altea for its reservation management, he knows that he is accessing the same inventory and availability as the airline. He confirms that the seat is definitely available to book at that price. Susie quickly agrees to make the reservation. Next, she starts to inform Michael about Mr. Lee's travel preferences. But before she starts to list the requests, Michael asks for Mr. Lee's frequent flyer number. Susie gives him the number, and Michael is able to access Mr. Lee's airline customer profile. He sees that Mr. Lee is a gold member, requiring a vegetarian meal and prefers an aisle seat. Michael reads out the preferences to Susie and asks her to confirm that everything is correct or if there was more to add. Susie is very surprised that Michael is able to access all that information so quickly and accurately. Michael explains that because his agency is working on the same Amadeus platform as the airline, he can access the information. Having that level of access certainly makes his life easier too, saving him a lot of time because there is no need to re-enter all those details with every booking. It also means that his customers are always happy with his service because they are assured that their preferences are recorded when they make a reservation. Susie asks for the booking reference number so that she can access the reservation online and confirm all the details with Mr. Lee. Michael offers to email Susie a link to Amadeus Check My Trip site, where she could access an online record of the itinerary and information about Mr. Lee's destination. That way, Susie could automatically update Mr. Lee's diary. Susie is very impressed with this service and can't help thinking that Mr. Lee will be impressed with her too. She thanks Michael for his help and sets up a new account with the agency for payment.